understand from the discussion that there was a need for a substitute, and I would ask if you would adopt the substitute. What this bill really does is the request is to add the Rosetta James Foundation as one of the nonprofit organizations to our state tax exemption.
Move to adopt the sub. Second by Representative Drummond. Just to clarify, the substitute basically conforms the language of this exemption to what we have with other similar exemptions.
Sure.
Any questions or comments on the substitute? All in favor of adopting the sub, say aye. Aye. All opposed? The sub is adopted. I'll entertain a motion. Favor report by Representative Lovern. Second by Representative Ellis. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Bill is given a favorable report.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Next, let's go to tab 5, which is HB 465. This is the similar legislation for Representative Grimsley, which is providing taxation relief for the Alabama State Missionary Baptist Convention. Representative Grimsley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a similar situation. We do offer a sub on this legislation, just to mirror what we just had to fix out with Ms. Hall's legislation. Basically, it's exempting the Alabama State Missionary Baptist Convention and its auxiliaries for state tax exemption for purposes declared by their organization.
Okay. So, need to adopt a substitute. Have a motion on sub. Motion. Representative Ellis, second by Representative Baker. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? The sub is adopted. Entertain a favorable report or report. Entertain a motion. Representative Drummond, second by Representative Wood. All in favor of giving this sub a favorable report, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Bill's given a favorable report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Third, look at tab 7, HB 412, Representative Van Smith. Tab 7.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity to present to you Sweet Grown Alabama Act. This would allow for farmers to be included in the sales tax exemption for value-added products. And a good example of this is if a farmer's growing cucumbers and he sells them at a farmer's market, he doesn't pay sales tax. But if he processes them and makes them into pickles, then he has to pay sales tax on that. This is only for products that are grown on the farm, processed on the farm, and then sold by the farmer or his family or his employee. That's the only ones that it would exempt this sales tax from, and it would not include products that are shipped out of state. So same way with strawberries that are produced into jam or jelly. And so with that, I'd answer any questions or ask for a favorable report.
At proper time, Mr. Chair, I move to get a bill of favorable report.
Moved by Representative Grimsley. Representative Drummond, you have a second or a question?
I can have a second, and I do have a question.
Okay. Sure. Yes. So we have a motion and a second, but I'll recognize you for your comment now.
Okay. I just wanted to say, because we have several farmer markets in Mobile, which they do a valuable service, not just to the community, but particularly to the senior community, the elderly. So I just wanted to applaud them for that, because it's something that is well deserved, and the economic impact to our communities is just immensely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to point out to the members, you have a handout that looks like this. If you can see, we don't have a fiscal note on this bill. The fiscal note basically says it's undetermined. This is an analysis that was prepared by the Department of Agriculture, Economics, and Rural Sociology at Auburn, which, again, it's not our LFO, but they've done the analysis to indicate that this is a fiscal note they project of about $400,000 per year. This is part of the Sweet Grown Alabama agenda that we've heard about. We passed a couple of bills, I think, in the House last week. This is one of those bills. So not an LFO number, but this is an analysis that indicates what the impact might be. Any other comments or questions? So we have a motion and a second for favorable report. Is that correct? All in favor of giving the bill a favorable report, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Bill's given a favorable report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Let's go now to tab 2, which is HB 456. This is a bill that I'm carrying. You remember last week when we passed the Education Trust Fund budget, the education budget, we had in the supplemental a $200 million set aside to pay down debt. And actually what happens is that debt's not paid down on day one. The debt is put into a sinking fund, and the sinking fund then pays that debt as it comes due. This bill establishes the sinking fund. We actually should have probably done this as part of our budget package, but we're just now doing this. So all this says is establish the sinking fund to hold that $200 million and then release it as debt payments are due. Representative Faulkner.
Mr. Chairman, you said you're carrying this.
Yes.
I'd move to give the bill a favorable report.
Thank you. Second, Representative Collins. Representative Collins has a question. Thank you.
Will that sinking fund be a fund that can earn interest as we hold that money there?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Second.
Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion. We have a motion, don't we? Okay, yeah, okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of giving the bill a favorable report, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Bill's given a favorable report. Thank you, Representative Faulkner. Next, let's go to tab 3, HB 435, Representative Wingo. See here? There he is. Tab 3.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members. Currently, under the Alabama Commission on Higher Education, the Alabama Math and Science Teachers Education Program, AMSTEP, that you're familiar with, current funding for that, for the forgiveness of loans for math and science teachers in our state is $20,000. This bill simply is asking that we increase it to $30,000, $10,000. The reason is that we have found, studies have shown across the country that the higher the incentive, the higher the participation, obviously. 2019, we had 35 participants in this program. 2020, we had 17. 21, we had 12. And so other states, such as South Carolina, $60,000 they contribute towards the student forgiveness of loans. West Virginia, $40,000. We're asking to increase it from 20 to 30. There's not a fiscal note, simply because currently we have $1.6 million in the account. Each year we fund $746,000 to this fund. There's a ton of money in this account just sitting there. And so what we're asking is, and hopefully maybe next year you increase it even more and continue to look at this, but we're trying to incentivize students, a 4-year bachelor degree in math and science, to go to underserved areas of our state and teach for a minimum of 4 years. This is a good bill. We need your support.
So let me ask, just to reconcile, so we do have a fiscal note. Dustin, I might want your help on this. The fiscal note is only $117,000. So say again what you said about the balance in the account, why you said there wasn't a fiscal note, and then explain why there is, okay?
1.6 million is currently in the account.
Right, yes, sir. There's about a $700,000 appropriation included in the ETF budget for the past few years. Their expenditures for that program have not met that, but the purpose of the bill is to increase participation in the program, so that would increase the obligations of the program, but not necessarily the ETF funding that goes with it. And I think I tried to capture that there, increase the obligations of the program. So you wouldn't necessarily have to put any additional funding in it currently because of the balance, but the program obligation.
Hopefully one day we will burden the fund.
Right.
But the program, it's a $117,000 program.
Of the
Okay.
program.
Right, okay.
Correct.
Representative Grimsley?
I don't think Representative Wingo for this legislation is something that I've been in the back of my mind for a while. But I did not know that we were not utilizing the funds, and teachers are not, or those that are using the funds.
It's a shame.
I look forward to working with you on trying to figure out a way we can make more people utilize it as well as add to the program.
And that's one thing that we have found, that we're not doing a good job marketing. Some of this will be used for marketing, statewide ads. So that there's a lot of things that we need to do better to get this program out. This is not acceptable.
To be honest with you, I could understand why the rest of the state didn't know, because until I started reading your bill, I didn't understand the whole complex, the whole situation of it. Yeah. And I'd be willing to work with you, and we could do some other stuff to try to expand it. But I thank you for bringing this bill.
Yes, sir.
Representative Lovern.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with Gentleman Grimsley there that it's a great concept. It needs to be expanded. We can all agree $20,000 this year is not what it was last year. Yeah. And as we expand this program, we need to take advantage of these programs. The money's sitting in that account's not helping anybody. This money churns right back into the state coffers through investments within our state, helps keep people in our state, and I move to give Bill a favorable report.
Move to favorable report by Representative Lovern, second Representative Baker. Any other questions or comments? Representative Wood.
I have a comment. Have we looked at the eligibility requirements? Is there any way we can help our teachers? Because even the bill says for teachers that are eligible. Right. You know, there may be some teachers out there that don't have the credentials, but they want those credentials. But to go farther into debt scares them. So there may be some ways to help them become eligible for this program. I just think it's something that we need to look at going forward. And I love your bill. Thank you so much for it. I think it's a great bill. But the eligibility part of it, there may be some teachers out there that with, you know, just a little bit of nudging, we can help them become eligible to be a math or science with some funding, and then they'll be eligible for this reduction of debt.
Excellent.
Period.
Representative Drummond.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I like this bill. My question is, what you said you're going to do a little bit more marketing, but what efforts are you all going to do with higher ed? Because, I mean, in the Department of Education, I mean, to sort of get folks into that program to be able to take advantage of these monies. I mean, we're spending a lot of money, but we know that math and science and reading teachers are hard to recruit. So I'm wondering, what efforts are you doing to recruit people into this program or to let them know about the program?
Good question. So big picture. We have a department here in the state, and it works for you and I, and it's called the Commission on Evaluation. And Marcus Morgan heads that commission. And their team deep dives. No, it's the big guy behind Mr. Sullivan. I didn't mean to scare your child. Right? But and Marcus and their team has done a deep dive as to the statistics and the cause and possible solutions. One of the solutions is better marketing. To answer your question, I'm not prepared to answer your question. But Marcus, if you want, I would welcome him to come here and talk if Chairman would allow. Or
sure.
This could be another time.
Yeah, we can maybe this offline. We have a full agenda list. Is that okay, Representative Drummond? Okay. Any other comments or questions? All right, we have a motion for favorable report in a second. All in favor of giving the bill a favorable report, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Bill's given a favorable report.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Representative Wingo. Now let's go to tab 4, the most popular bill of the session, SB 13. Representative Sorrell, I believe, is going to speak to this bill today. Tab 4.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In 2018, Senator Tim Melson passed a sales tax exemption bill for precious metal bullion sales. And the reason was to help people like Carl Shorey, who runs the Central Alabama Coin Show. Now, he operated the coin show from 2000 to 2017, but then just quit doing the coin show altogether because of the burden with collecting the taxes for the coin show. And the coin show has returned since Senator Melson passed this bill in 2018. It's been a good success. Other states around us have this exemption in place. So I want to stress this is an existing exemption in Alabama law for these precious metal sales. The bill had a 5-year expiration on it when it was passed and is due to expire in 1 year. So Senate Bill 13 would extend that for an additional 5 years. It would also lower the requirement of precious metals content from 90% to 80%. That would include a few more coins, such as the Canadian junk silver coins. And it would also repeal the reporting requirement that they're currently subject to. If you claim an exemption for precious metal sales, you're currently required to file a report with the Department of Revenue. This would strike that report, and I have spoken with them, and they are okay with getting rid of that report. Mr. Chairman, I did plan to bring an amendment to this bill. After 2 different discussions with other people this morning, I've decided against bringing the amendment. The amendment would have expanded some of the things that were included. I think it's best if we just pass the bill as is and don't try to expand it.
Okay. There was a public hearing initially called for this bill, and it was withdrawn. So, questions, Representative Faulkner?
Representative Sorrell, why did you take off the reporting requirement? I assume there was a reason they had it on there originally. What was the reason for eliminating it?
Good question. So when this bill was originally passed, they wanted the reporting requirement on there so they knew how much of an impact this was actually having, how many people were claiming this exemption. The problem was that most people are not filing the report anyway. I know many, many different coin dealers, and they're not even aware this is in the law, and they weren't filing the report. So it wasn't really any relevant or useful information. And for that reason, the Revenue Department said they were okay with striking that report.
Was the report filed with Revenue?
Yes.
Or supposed to be?
Yes, that's correct.
But there was no penalty for failing to report?
Not that I'm aware of.
Someone from Revenue here? Anyone? Okay. Any other questions? Or you're from, yeah. Is there any disagreement or any clarification needed, or are we, the explanation has been sufficient?
As far as the reporting requirement?
Yeah.
He's correct.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Any other comments or questions from the committee? I'll entertain a motion. Representative Keel gives a motion favorable report. Representative Ellis gives a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Bill's given a favorable report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That brings us to our last bill on our agenda, HB 459, tab 6. We do have a public hearing on this bill. So this is a bill sponsored by Representative Collins. Representative Collins, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We passed legislation in 2015 that allows charter schools, public charter schools, to be put in across the state as needed and as chosen once a community supports and decides that's a benefit for their area. It was always intended that the federal money, the state money, and the local money would follow the students as they move to that. A charter doesn't have a boundary. Anyone is welcome to attend the charter that is enrolled there. And so there's not a tax base. So the local money following the student has been more of a challenge. I think I've been through this committee several years now trying to find a sweet spot of where that might work. One of the biggest difficulties or challenges is that a lot of times the local money's at a local school district, and trying to get one district to send the money to another local school district is not what they would like to do. And so what we have found this year, and what you'll see in the bill in front of you, is that we believe it's a much more equitable and a way to do this is to simply eliminate, not include any municipalities. So no city funding for a school system is included in this. Only the children that live within that county where that charter school is located. Right now, that's 5 counties in Alabama. Only the money for those students that are attending the charter school in that money, and it would come then from the revenue commissioner of that, for any county money only that is moving with that student. That's kind of where we feel like is a fair thing. The way I would see it is that, and it was pointed out yesterday, that you've got school systems that don't have these children and they're getting all the money. And you have charter public schools that have all these children and they're not getting any of the local money. And so this bill's not asking for all of the local money. It's simply asking for any of the county money for those county students, that those families are paying those taxes, or whatever the referendum was, that money would follow those students. That's what this does. We have a few counties that are very small, so trying to make sure that we've included all of the provisions and we're not hurting any specific system. If a county has less than 40,000 people, only 40% of that county money would follow those students because of the constraints on their funding. I hope that we found a good spot. I know there will always, unfortunately, be people who don't care for charter schools, but our bill is so accountable and transparent and working in the places it's located. And this isn't about having charter schools or not. This is about, do we want to try to fund them more appropriately or not? And it's only fair for those students, in my opinion. And so I'm happy to answer any questions or public hearing or however you.
So let me just clarify. Today we'll have a public hearing. We will not vote on this bill today. So we'll have this information today to consider. Next week's a break. We won't meet, but the following week we'll consider it. So we have plenty of time to gather information. Let me just clarify what I think you said. Last year there was a bill that basically would have moved all the local money would follow a student generally. I mean, this is not what this does.
No.
This bill is saying basically only the county money
for public education.
Public education would follow the student as long as it's within that
Public
county.
school. Yes.
It's within that
So
county.
if a student comes from another county, that money does not follow, only within the county.
Right. So if you have a city system and a city student goes to a charter school, the city money stays with the system, the city
Correct.
system, but the county portion would follow the student.
Correct.
Okay. Representative Ellis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I heard you say something about the revenue commissioner did I hear you say?
The revenue commissioner would collect that county money. And so that revenue commissioner now would send it and divide it among the other public schools. But they're not allowing charter public schools to participate. And so now this bill would say that revenue commissioner would move those county dollars to all the public schools in that county.
Okay, so that's something they do currently. That's how.
But they're not doing charters
Okay.
currently.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Representative Faulkner.
Representative Collins, and I at one point I heard you say money's moving, but you've clarified this very well, I think. But really, the money's not moving. I mean, we're talking. If I understand you correctly, we're talking about kids in a county who are going to school, a public school in that county.
Correct.
Getting the county money.
Correct.
So there's no money moving or transferring. This is a kid who lives in that county, the parents paying taxes in that county, and that county money is going to help educate the kid in that county.
And
At
the
a
money
public
was
school.
for public education. Yes.
So there's no money moving. It is merely county funds for a child in that county going to a public school in that county, getting the county funds that is supposed to be educating the child.
Correct.
Okay.
Representative Keel.
So to follow up on Representative Ellis's question about the money is currently for the public schools being collected at the county level, and the county is remitting that local collection to the public schools now, but not to the charter schools.
Correct.
And the state is sending the state funding for the traditional school, the public school, is coming from the state minus the 10 mil, because there's 10 mil coming from the county, and then there's the other remainder coming from the state. But for the charter school,
Well, the
they're
10 mills
receiving the
coming from the
equivalent.
local systems, whatever that is. So it might be a county system, or it might be a municipal, a city system. So the 10 mil would be based on whatever that system's
And so they're
millage
getting
was.
they're from the local governing body. They're receiving the 10 mil now. The traditional school is.
They're doing their match, yes.
So the charter school, because they do not receive the 10 mil equivalent, the 10 mil from the local governing body, whoever that is, they don't receive that now. But because they don't, they receive a 10 mil equivalent from the state. Do I understand that correctly?
What the state has been doing as they interpreted the law was that you have a match from that local system of whatever your millage 10 mills equals. A charter system, like I mentioned before, doesn't have a boundary. So there's not a tax base anywhere. There's not a way to do a 10 mil match. So the way the department has been allocating the state money for the foundation is that because there's no way to have a match, they've just not been including any kind of a match, but they've been sending the foundation program funding to the charters. So like I said at the start, charters are getting their federal funding and they're getting their state funding, but they've never gotten any of the local funding, which was always the intent of the bill.
But the difference between the state funding for the charter school and the traditional school is that the charter school is getting 100%, where the traditional school
They're not.
is getting,
They're not having a 10 mil match because they don't have a 10 mil match.
and the traditional school is being deducted the 10 mil match.
Well, they have to have a match to get the foundation allotment. And a charter doesn't have the match.
Yeah, so they're getting the full amount from the state as opposed to what the traditional school's getting.
I believe they're all getting the foundation allotment from the state, and I'll have to get that clarified.
Okay.
Remind everybody, we do have a public hearing. We'll do questions, but we have some other comments. But Representative Drummond, I'll come to you.
I want to follow up on Representative Keel, because that's what I was thinking, that the traditional public schools, there are boundaries, and charters, there are no boundaries. So charters, if this bill passed, would get 100%, whereas that's not the case with traditional public schools, right?
Ask that one more time, because no, right now, charters are not getting any,
I said
and
only
they would
if the
still
bill-
get the state money. I'm not understanding the
If
question.
the bill passed, charters would get 100%, correct?
No, they would get whatever that county's tax base was, they would get only the amount per students that they're teaching.
But it still would be 100% of whatever that is, correct?
It would be of
it
those
still would be-
local
it would still be
dollars
100%.
of the local county.
But it's
Yes.
still 100%. But that is not the case with traditional schools.
No.
I
don't think, I think it is.
Explain that.
Okay,
Explain
it would
that.
be local county dollars. The local schools right now, traditional schools, are getting all of those local dollars, but they're no longer teaching all of those students. Some of those students have gone to the public charter school. And so all this
I
says is
understand,
that those local dollars that were meant for those students would now go with those students. So I'm not sure where you're talking 100%.
Let me see if I can clarify, because I'm
Okay.
not sure. Maybe Representative Drummond, see if I'm wrong. There's a calculation that determines how much money goes to any school, right?
Yes.
And so right now,
By
that
the department.
calculation is a little bit complicated, but there's a calculation. And a portion of that calculation is, here's the county money, right? So we're not changing the way all that's calculated.
No,
We're just
no.
basically saying, here's the county money. And what this bill says is the county money will follow the student.
And it uses that average daily
But you're not-
membership number.
So the question is, we need to see the math. I think what I'm hearing is, are we double dipping, or the charter school getting a benefit over the other? And the answer to that is, I think, that no, the calculation of the county dollars is what it is, and that just follows the student.
Correct.
And let me, and that's correct.
And we'll try to get a graph before this, an email to the committee on those actual dollar amounts, and that might help explain
Is that what you were
as
asking,
well.
Representative Drummond?
Yeah, and the other question that I had is on page 4. So this will be for all charters, even those that are not in existence now, if you have startups in the future. So that dollar amount to traditional schools will continue to go down as charters come on.
Well, but they would no longer be teaching the students.
But it would be for all other
It would
startups
be
in the future,
anywhere.
conversions, so forth, so
Well, no, the conversions pretty much stay the same because they were a part of that local school system, and they'd still be a part of that local school system.
Let me go to Representative Wood, then I'll come to you, Representative Grimsley. Representative Wood.
Thank you, Representative. Thank you for the bill. I have one question because this has been posed to me. In a lot of our local systems, they have had to raise additional taxes to pay for buildings, to pay for ideas that they have. So what happens to that additional money that the voters have taxed themselves to basically improve their school system? What happens to those dollars?
Well, those people that voted to do that are those same families that have chosen to use the public charter school. And so that money would be still following those students.
county money, the county.
Those students would no longer be at that traditional school, public school. They would now be at the public charter school. And so this is just saying whatever that vote had been, those families have chosen to use a different school at that point. It would really be, in my area, it's not a difference than if you went from a Decatur within Morgan County to a Hartselle, that ADM's going to follow that student. And now we're just saying it's going to follow the public charter school student as well.
Thank you.
Representative Grimsley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Collins, I was just listening to what you were saying earlier in reference to the ADM that goes to county school systems, and Ms. Drummond here sort of brought me to abreast of what I was thinking from the beginning. If I'm not mistaken, the ADM funding for local county school systems now, 100% does not go to those county school systems, correct?
I've never heard that before.
But
They're not going to public schools,
That's right.
public charter schools, but they are going to the public
right now. You
traditional schools.
said earlier that because they don't have local funding, the State Department sends the 100% to charters.
You're talking about the foundation state money.
Foundation state money, first of all.
Yes.
Okay, so what percent of the foundation state money goes to current operating local school systems?
They get their average daily membership for the foundation. The
Is that-
state money's the same. The state money's not changing.
Okay, that's my point. I got to start with the state money because local school systems does not get 100% of state money currently.
They have a match that they have
Okay,
to commit in order to get it
Okay.
that a charter does not have.
Okay, so what you're telling me is that, let's say it's $90. I use that so we could understand it, that the local county school systems get. So they need $10 to match that to
match.
make it 100%.
Correct.
Currently,
But that $10 is from their millage.
Okay.
And they're using that for education.
well, let me help
It's
you.
a match.
Let me help you with this. Currently, charters get, of the $90, they do not have to pay the match. So they get 100%.
Correct.
Okay. And so if your bill passes,
Yes.
not only do they get the 10% that the local systems don't get, they get another percentage from local county funds, which will give them 110 and give my local county system 90. Until we make a match.
I would say that's not accurate because of this. I'm talking about just the local money, which none of that local money
But
is
you got to
going
look
to
at all
the charter.
money. We got to look at all money because all I'm concerned about now is the actual total dollar figure.
And I'll get the math for that. Even when we do it this way, you're going to find that a charter system's still getting less money, and I'll get the math to show you that. I'm wanting the charter systems to be
They're getting
more
less money because they have
equitable.
less students. But what I'm concerned about is the fact that you're trying to tell me that a local school system has to match that $90, which is $10 out of the local system, which is coming from the revenue office. But the charter school does not have to match. They have 100% of the
State
money,
dollars.
the state dollars, and then they get a portion of the revenue office, which is more than the 100% that I had to match with my 10% as a local.
And I don't believe that that's accurate, but I will get you the math that shows you
yourself,
that.
You said that they get 100% of the state funding.
But so
federal
does-
funding, right now.
But that local uses that 10% match so that that amount ends up being the same
From the revenue,
amount.
from the county funds.
Correct.
They use that from the county funds.
And now we're going to say a portion per student is going to follow
Well, let's
that
put them on a level
student.
playing field then. Let's say charters and local county systems get 90%. The charter has to come up with their match of 10%. The local have to come up with their match with 10% and get it all from revenue. That would be fair. Now, what you're describing now is not fair. It is a total disproportion of what's going on. Not only that, I'm going to leave that alone because I'm sure you got a public hearing, people going to address that.
And I will get some
Yeah, secondly-
a graph
secondly-
to show the actual dollar amounts
Well, I've
per
already
student.
researched it, Ms. Collins, I already researched. But anyway, the local municipalities have municipal charter schools. Who approves municipal charter schools? Which board approve a municipal charter school?
It can look different in different ways.
What is the-
Some of
what is the
our
bill- what is the bill? What is the-
Very few of our local systems have become authorizers. A couple have, and they would approve theirs.
But
There
if
are
a
a
municipal, if a
couple.
if a municipality wants to approve a charter school in the state of Alabama, can a municipal school board approve a charter school?
Yes.
Okay,
If they
so-
become an authorizer.
So if we let me see, Dothan City, which I'm from, approve a local charter,
Yes.
you're telling me that the county has to pay for what the city of Dothan voted on?
They're already paying.
Well,
tho-
a portion,
that-
a portion.
A portion,
Yeah, but
and
now
that would
Dothan
be the
City
same.
pays the majority of their school funding through local funds from the Dothan City. Now, I'm
And
just
that
trying to,
city money would not follow the student at all,
why would the county money follow?
because they would be located in
The
that
county did
county.
not approve the local charter.
But the
Well-
school is in that county.
So,
But they
so
don't
let-
get all of the county funding for the students in the Dothan City school system. The city pays for those students in the Dothan City school system, which is because Dothan is the largest city in Houston County. And the city of Dothan makes more money than the entire county of Houston County, which are being deprived already. Our school system in Houston County has nowhere near the funding that Dothan City has. There's no way I can burden Houston County to take care of a Dothan City problem. That's all I got to say. I don't know if other counties around the state feel that way, and I don't know if we've thought about this or thought it out, but I have thought it. One more thing, and I'm going to go, Mr. Chair. She mentioned earlier about sales tax that a local system passes. Houston County or Henry County wants to build a new gym for Abbeville High School. Okay. We passed a 1 cent sales tax. The gym costs $25. We tell our residents that we want 1 cent sales tax for the duration until we raise $25 to build that gym. We vote on that as citizens to build a gym for Henry County, for Abbeville High School. After that, we don't want no more money from the city, from the county, from nobody. We exempt that tax because that was the purpose of that funding. You're telling me that I have to give a portion of that to do I have to give a portion of that to Helen High School?
To where?
Helen High School, that's in Henry County also.
No, because it's not
Okay,
a public
okay.
charter.
Do I
You're
have to give a
already
portion- do I have to
giving
give
that
a portion of
money.
it to Henry County Virtual Academy?
No.
Okay. Do I have to give a portion of that to Henry County?
Henry County doesn't have a
vocational
charter
tech?
school.
I'm explaining to you because this is not just Henry County. This affects the whole state. I'm just asking you these questions. I don't have to give it to all of those other schools in my system. But then you tell me I have to give it to the charter school?
No,
That's what you said. You told me that.
local county money's already following all
No.
public
I said a
school
sales
students.
tax, a sales tax raise for a specific purpose in a specific county that says we use these funds for this. According to your bill, any taxes that I raise or funds that comes up, a portion of that has to go to a charter. Now, I don't have a problem with charter schools in per se, but don't affect my local wishes of my local people.
So I think you've heard several themes today. I think one, we need to see some examples.
Chair.
some
And I will
math,
definitely get
some
that for the
math,
committee.
Some math on maybe some of these specific examples we've talked about to
Definitely.
prove.
Mr. Chair, at
this-
the appropriate time, I asked we carried House bill over.
Well, we're not going to vote. It's a public hearing. We're not going to vote today, so we're going to not take any action today. But so what we'll do is we'll just need some numbers to
And I'll
respond
be happy to
okay?
provide that.
And let's just prove, disprove, whatever we've heard today, okay? But I think that's fine. You've heard kind of, I think, some of the concerns, and so those are comments that you need to consider as we come back the next time. Let's go to our public hearing right now. The first thing we'll do is we'll hear from, we have 2 opponents and 3 proponents. The first person I'll call to speak in opposition to the bill is Ryan Hollingsworth, the School Superintendents Association of Alabama. Oh, yeah, we're going to have 2 minutes, if that's okay.
That's fine.
You don't have to take all of it.
All right, so I shared with you a copy of our foundation primer that we usually provide this committee, and it talks about the foundation program and the match that everybody's been talking about this morning. So if you take a look at that when you have time. Last night, I saw that Orange Beach City decided to form their own school system. So they did that by a vote of the local city council. And so Representative Collins talked about a community commitment to our support for charter schools. So one of the things we mentioned last year when it was coming through is we would like to see some kind of community support for the charter before it's put in place by the authorizing body that's located here in Montgomery through a resolution or a vote or something. But the focus, the concern that Representative here raised about the committed taxes, the 1 cent to build a gym and so forth, we have that concern as well. But the focus, my time I won't spend on the foundation program itself. So the foundation program itself is actually a partnership, the way it was written in 95, between state funds and local funds, and that's the 10 mil match. So Amendment 778 said that every school district had to have a 10 mil minimum match to participate in the foundation program. Because it was written, it's extremely complicated for a calculation to be made on what that local match is, as Representative Collins has explained. Therefore, the department has been not deducting. They've been sending the 100%, as you mentioned, to the public charters. And so, and that's fine. The way the law says, they're supposed to get the 10 mil piece. That's the way the current law reads. And it's just coming from the SDE instead of coming from the local board or the revenue commissioner. So that's not the issue. The issue is what you raised. So if we are going to now have the revenue commissioner send the pro rata share of the county-wide taxes to the public charters as they do regular public schools, then it would appear that they now have created a tax base, and they would be everybody would be receiving the 10 mil minimum to participate in the foundation program. So why would then the public charters not be deducted the 10 mil match just as public schools are? So if you look at the state allocation sheets that every school district has one of these, it's on the State Department website, you'll see that public schools have deducted from their foundation program allocation in the current year $654 million total to participate. And the charters have zero. So I'm sorry, I'll be glad to answer any questions of that further, but we have some concerns and we'll certainly be willing to try to address those in the bill.
Next, we'll hear from a proponent, Jeremiah Newell, Excel Academy. 2 minutes, please, sir.
Well, good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. It's great to be back with you again this year. I'm Jeremiah Newell, the founder of Excel Academy down in Mobile, Alabama, and we were the first charter school. We were funded and started through real community partnership. Our elected officials, our business community, wanting to do more in support of our traditional public schools. We had a very specific mission, which was to look for, identify, and support young people who were disconnected, encourage them to get back connected, and help them to get to graduation. And we've graduated hundreds of kids over the last few years. We're really proud of that. We're proud of what many of them are doing, but we also recognize that for us at least, we receive a little bit over 2/3 of what our traditional school district receives in government funding, that is federal and state funding. That difference for our public school system is made up with the additional local revenue taxes that they receive, and we just don't receive that money. And so what we have to do, unfortunately, is limit what we can offer. We don't have the number of teachers that we need to be able to do the small class sizes that our kids desperately need coming in at middle school level skills. We don't have the number of counselors we need to address the tremendous trauma that our young people are experiencing, especially since this tremendous pandemic has affected our families. We don't have the quality of post-secondary programming that allows our young people to truly be connected and move forward to the future. And our traditional school districts are able to do that because they're able to receive about $3,500 a kid that unfortunately we don't have access to. And so as proud as we are of the number of students that we've been able to graduate, the other statistic that really pains me is that I have not gone a year without burying a kid in our school, because they have been subject to the violence that our community is facing, and I don't have the resources I need to get them what they need. And so all we're asking is the ability to fund our schools in the same fashion. That's it. It's a 1% reduction for Mobile County Public School, 1%. But again, remember, we were started not to disrupt our system, but to support it. but we can't do what we need to do without a fair amount of resources. And yes, I trust you all to figure out the right way to make that happen. And I know our, Charter Commission wants and Charter side wants to do it, and I think we can figure it out. Okay. But don't let this bill die again this year. Okay. That's all I'm asking. Let's figure it out.
Thank you. Next opponent speaking would be Clint Daughtry from the Alabama Education Association.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm Clint Daughtry, AEA General Counsel. I always appreciate having a couple of minutes to discuss things with you. This morning, I have a very narrow focus. I'm not here on anything generally to do with charter schools. I'm here for page 5, starting at line 6. That is the language being deleted from the 2015 charter school law that protects earmarked local funding. And what I see when I put my lawyer hat on this, I can tell you I see at least 2 lawsuits on line 8 for trying to repeal statutory earmarks in the bill without doing it specifically, and by trying to repeal constitutional earmarks through the bill. So what you have is the situation, getting back to your question from earlier, Representative Wood, is if you repeal this language, when taxpayers vote to say we're going, and Representative Grimsley, if the taxpayers say we're going to put in a 1-cent sales tax to build a new county high, then if a charter school opens in that county, yes, the voters voted to build a county high, but the charter school is going to get their share of that sales tax if you delete this language. And it's not just new taxes. By doing this repeal of this language, existing countywide taxes that are either statutorily earmarked, constitutionally earmarked, or were dedicated in the bonds for the construction project will be subject to this. So I'm not a bond lawyer. I don't play one on TV. I will leave it to them to explain the implications. But I do know that risk of loss of revenue stream increases borrowing cost, and this is going to introduce a risk of loss to the revenue stream. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We actually had we've got someone who would like to speak, who didn't sign up, but I think intended to sign up. So with permission of the committee, I'm going to let that person speak, and one of the other proponents will just not speak. So we'll still have 3, if that's okay. Anybody object to that? Tanisha Sims Summer. As a proponent.
Good morning, Chairman, and all of you. I am here from Birmingham, Alabama. I'm a proud parent and board member of I3 Academy, which is a new charter school in the Woodlawn area. I'm also a small business owner. And as a parent of 4, I have experienced an array of educational systems. Me growing up, I went to Catholic schools. My parents paid a lot of money to do that. I've been the only black kid in my school. I've been in predominantly black schools. My children have gone to affluent schools. I've even homeschooled, and I've looked at so many educational opportunities. The charter stood out to me particularly because of the creativity and the innovation, like one of the previous speakers said, to support the general public school system. And so as a parent, you don't want to feel restricted in where your child should go based on where you live, how much money you make or don't make. And so I've enjoyed the experience of the charter school. I'm still reading through and learning a lot of the minutia around the bills and all that. It's funny how you get into politics, but at the end of the day, I think it's about the kids, and we live in a country where choices and free opportunities of education should be supported. And I'm sure we can find a solution that will support parents like myself who don't want to feel boxed in and looking for alternative opportunities to educate their children. You don't want to be in a situation that's not safe, or a school system that's getting proper funding, but the schools are still failing, or a parent like myself who has to continuously give money out of my pockets to teachers who don't have the money, and they're spending their own money to educate our children when we live in a country with copious dollars. So I hope that we can find a solution that will accommodate the various styles of learning and support the charter schools and what they're trying to do to support the general education. So that's all I had.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And the last proponent speaking is Kennedy Ezel.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Kennedy Ezel. I'm from York, Alabama, and I'm a sophomore at the University Charter School in Livingston, Alabama. I am a part of Beta Club, National Honor Society, Peer Helpers, president of HOSA, president of SGA, and I am president of the Student Government Association. I am captain of my school's cheerleading team, and I am also playing softball alongside of that. UCS is a place where students have the chance to realize their dreams and potential in such a small rural community. It has shown me that there is more to this rural community than meets the eye. Today I am standing before you to ask for your vote of yes on House Bill 459. As a public charter school, we are not provided with local funds as other public schools in the state of Alabama. The students in our system are worth just as much as any public school student. We work just as hard, if not more, than other students in our community. The bill will have a tremendous impact on the environment at UCS and many other public charter schools in the state of Alabama. Charter schools will be able to provide the students with the resources and education they deserve and desire. Gaining access to the portion of the local funding that is proposed in House Bill 459 will benefit our schools and students tremendously. A vote to support this bill is a vote of support to me and other students like me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us today. So that concludes our public hearing. At this point, let me just say this. I think there's obviously a lot of concerns that have been raised today. These concerns are all legitimate. I think that, you know, I encourage everybody on the committee to keep an open mind and let's get all the facts and let's see the responses to what we see with our concerns that were raised today. I come from the business world, so I always like to try to find if there's a middle ground somewhere. Maybe there is, maybe there's not. But I think we all need to consider the people who spoke today and who are advocating for this bill need to hear the concerns and make sure that you are responding and addressing them in such a way that provides the answers you requested today. And I think committee members, I would urge you to seek out people that can help you get up to speed. This complication of this funding is pretty complex, and there are people that can help you get up to speed on that. At the end of the day, we are all here wanting to help our children. So I don't want to make a bad decision. I know one on this committee wants a bad decision. So we will not meet next week. When we come back the following week, we'll all be much better informed, and maybe we'll see where we stand at that point. So any other comments from the committee members today? Oh, Representative Collins, yes, I'm sorry.
I had a question from the gentleman that spoke about the bond money and the statutory and constitutional. If a student moved from a public school in that county to a different public school, how would that affect that now?
If they're staying within the same school system, they're within the same
No, different schools, like in my example earlier, if a student was in a Decatur system and then went to a Hartselle system, how would that affect that county money?
The tax revenue isn't divided by ADM now. For those kinds of taxes, if a county commission passes a 1/6 sales tax, then in general, they're not going to divide it by, especially in systems that are just county, then they're not going to divide it out by ADM. What this would introduce is if the county passes that tax and that student, especially if they come from a private school, then they're going to have to go in, add in that to the count, and divert those funds to the public charter school.
Can you say that one more time? So if a county tax was passed,
It's not divided by ADM currently, and this would require those taxes to be.
it is, I mean, isn't that how the county money is distributed by ADM? But the county money is what we're talking about here, not the bond money, correct? We're just talking about the county money.
If the tax revenue is dedicated for that bond, that's what that language I was discussing
But-
specifically repeals the existing statutory protection for those funds.
Okay, then my question is this, same circumstance. You've got a dedicated bond that's been passed and out there dedicated for that money. But you've also, your local county tax dollars are still being divided and distributed. So if a student moved from one system to another system within that county, that money's not going to change for that public traditional school, is it?
I'm not understanding your question, Mr. President. I'm happy to sit down and walk through it and see if we can find some comfort.
Okay, thank you.
I want to congratulate the committee and all the participants for getting through this marathon meeting in an hour. So I appreciate your indulgence, and we'll be much better informed next week. Meeting is adjourned.